Hello and welcome to this episode of my podcast. So, I'm going to start this off with a bang, okay? This episode is going to be sharing a lot of things that I have been wanting to talk about, but I'm either too scared to talk about or too embarrassed to admit. So, buckle up, people, because this episode is going to be juicy, to say the least. I don't even know where to start, but for those of you that have been following my entrepreneurial journey with all of the different business models that I have had since 2015, 2016, with starting with what it takes, then it going into manifesting makeup artist, and then going into what is now August Amber. You all have seen so much from me. So for those of you that are listening right now or watching, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, first of all, thank you for your ongoing support. But all of you guys know that I have just like for the last few years have been MIA. I'll show up a little bit here, I'll show up a little bit there, and I am here to share the reason behind that, but also share with you how I overcame it and where I'm going from here on out and why I feel so confident about it. It has been the most tumultuous 3 years that I have ever gone through. It has been hard. It has been scary. And I think a lot of us can collectively agree that the past few years, especially those that are in America, that these last 3 years, 4 years have been just a wild ride to say the very least. And there's been a lot that I've gone through personally that has caused me to essentially experience burnout, but not only burnout, like just this overwhelming sense of not knowing how to move forward. And the thing that I want to move forward with, and I've wanted to move forward with for so long, I have been terrified to actually show up in that space. So let's just get into it. Let's start with why, like just the last 3 years, what I've gone through, why I haven't shown up in the way that I really wanted to. I did, I feel a decent job showing up consistently and developing a really strong community in the makeup world ever since 2016. So technically I released my documentary in 2017, What It Takes. And that was when everything kind of like really took off as far as my online business with that. So we'll say ever since 2016 though, because there's a whole, slew of things that happened with building that community before the documentary actually came out. And I felt really clear on the vision, clear on my goals of what it was that I was trying to achieve with that brand. And then all of a sudden, 2019, aka 2020, happened, and it all kind of just like went away. And around that time, so 2018 was when I actually signed up for yoga teacher training, got certified as a yoga teacher trainer, and then that opened the door for me for Reiki. Now, those of you that have been following me for a very long time, you all know that I am all into spirituality, all into energy healing. So that's not something I have to explain for those that have been following me on this journey. But for those that are like new to my world, I thrived in that space. So I started to integrate those elements into my content creation around 2018, 2019, 2020. So any courses or workshops or whatever I was doing, somehow always integrated either meditation or intention setting. And then it started to like slowly get into a little bit of like the energy healing of things. And I started to freak out about being judged for doing that. So right around, I would say mid 2020, I had actually created an online program where it was for makeup artists, and I really allowed that to kind of flourish. And something about that really freaked me out about showcasing this side of me that is a very spiritual, um, and having a lot of psychic experiences. I was terrified to actually be open about it. So what started to happen to my like mental, emotional state of being, I became so overwhelmed with what I wanted to do with my brand that I went into this like paralysis of even taking any sort of action. So I would show up and then I would just disappear. And then I would show up and then I would disappear. And it was this constant fear of people harshly judging me for what I really want to share, the side of me that I really want to share. That was the reason why I've been back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And something that I've shared in previous episodes of my podcast is me discovering why I can't be consistent about anything. And there's a portion of who I am that is very spontaneous and very, I don't like a ton of structure. But what was always in the back of my mind was, how on earth did I manifest a decently successful career as a makeup artist, but I can't for the life of me be successful in the space that I really feel passionate, like even more passionate about. And it was always baffling to me, like how, why, what is the disconnect? The disconnect was I was terrified of actually showing that side of me. So without further ado, here it is. Okay. I'm going to share some really interesting stories with you guys during this episode that really, I mean, open that door, or like, you know, kind of releasing the curtains, so to speak, of that, at least a slight bit of it. So in 2018, I do yoga teacher training. That really got me into just that holistic practice, and I just fell in love with it. Then I started doing Reiki, and that was when everything changed for me in a drastic way. I started to develop really strong psychic abilities, and I didn't really know what to do with it. Learned some techniques on how to deal with it. And ever since then, I've wanted to share those experiences and share with my community that I do Reiki, but I was always too scared to bring that up or talk about it or even offer. Like, not very many people know that I offer Reiki because I don't ever promote it. I was always too scared to promote it. I also um, create my own meditation tracks that I record. And I have all of these recordings that I've done in the past that I record for guided meditation with the intention or the purpose of those to be something for my community to, you know, listen to. And I have, I mean, the number of audio files that I have where I recorded it and did absolutely nothing with it because I was too scared to put it out. There's a lot. There's a lot. And I finally, in the last couple weeks, came to a place of peace with all of that. And I'm finally confident enough to talk about it and to also share with you guys what to expect from me from here on out. Like, I mean, honestly, the last 2 years at least, I've done one episode every few months, every 6 months. And like I said, the reason why is because I have all these ideas of topics I want to talk about, but I'm too scared to talk about those topics. And the last couple weeks, I've had a lot of time to get back into my meditation practice and come to like find a place of peace with exactly how I want to show up. And I feel good about it. I don't feel shameful. I don't feel embarrassed. I don't feel fearful of what people are going to think. So I'm excited to share with you guys what you can expect from me from here on out. Basically, this brand, this channel, this podcast, however you're, listening to this episode and digesting any content that I do from here on out is going to be focused around holistic practices, basically. Mainly meditation or like hypnotherapy, if you will, and Reiki and human design and just mental health support kind of as a general topic. And I feel good about that. And I always had this just like constant inner battle of, well, why, I don't want to leave the makeup community. I don't want to leave the hair community. I don't want to leave the TV and film community. And I'm finally at peace with, you know, allowing that to be in the past and allowing myself to move forward and being okay with that. And also accepting that if it doesn't vibe with people, that's okay too. If people start coming at me saying I'm a devil worshiper, that's unfortunately just that's their perspective, and that's okay. Like I'm not going to allow that to define who I am just because they disagree with what I'm putting out in the world. So I'm really, really excited. And I feel really good. And it took me a very long time to get to this place. So if you are ever at a point where you're feeling all of those things, where you feel embarrassed to show up or scared that you're going to be ridiculed or whatever, please know that sometimes it takes some time to work through that. It took me a full 3 or 4 years to work through that and understand it. And know that you're not alone. Know that you're not alone. So let's talk about something that I've wanted to share for so long. I'm trying to figure, like, I'm totally riffing here. Usually when I do these episodes, I have notes, or sometimes I write out the entire thing completely. Like, this was a very spontaneous decision for me to just like up and do this. And ironically enough, I was talking to my mom right before recording this, and we were just talking about exactly what I just shared with you guys. And I knew that if I don't do something like what I'm doing right now, which is just hit record, it's just going to be another thing that I just thought about for the day. That's just how my energy works. That's how my brain works. I have ADHD. I have ideas all day about doing a million things. So I decided to take action, and I open up. I do the recordings of my videos like this. Because for those of you that are listening on the podcast, as just an audio, I'm recording a video to then post on like my YouTube. And I'm going to extract the audio for the podcast. So the software, like the program, I don't know what, the website that I use to record these videos is called Loom, Loom. And when I went to open it up, I don't remember the last time. I'll have to look at the exact dates. At least it says 2 months. So I haven't been on this website for the last 2 months. I open it up and it literally has in the queue, the number of videos that I have recorded in the past. There's 333 videos. So that was an immediate sign. I was like, okay, all right, I'm just gonna do this. And that was kind of my indication that I took from the universe, that I need to record this, because clearly I need to do this, but also clearly there are people that need to hear this. So let's talk about Reiki. I like I said, I think it was like the end of 2018. That's when I got my Reiki 1 attunement. So for those of you that are not familiar with Reiki, it is a healing modality. It is an energy healing that the only way to connect with that energy and do a Reiki healing is by being attuned to it from a Reiki master. And I have all three levels. I'm a Reiki master. I've been a Reiki master for the last 3 years, 2 years, 2.5. But anyway, I got my Reiki 1 attunement in 2018, like the end of 2018. And when I tell you that that was like the start of my spiritual awakening, I mean, it was big. It was big, big. I would like to say that it started with the yoga, because I started with Kundalini, which is a very I love Kundalini, and I just got back into it. So a lot of people that do Kundalini know there's a huge spiritual awakening that happens, which I did go through that. But when I did my Reiki, that's when everything. And I'm not that person that's like, oh, I've seen ghosts all my life. I don't have that. Just as a side note, we all have our own gifts, okay? Just like we have our own genius zones. Like, for example, you would never ask me to put together a blueprint for a house because I'm not an architect, right? That's not a gift of mine. That's not a genius zone of mine. I am a super artistic person, but I also love the spiritual arts. Like that's where I thrive. I also thrive in talking to people. Some people absolutely hate talking to people. That's a place in my life where I thrive. So we all have these things that we excel in, and then things that we don't excel in. And there's nothing wrong with the things that we don't excel in. So with Reiki, and I'll get into this in a second, like deeper, but when you go through an attunement, there is definitely something that happens energetically, spiritually speaking. And I've talked to tons of people, hundreds of people who have been attuned, who definitely can agree with with that statement. And for me, what that was, and this is where, I'm getting like nervous. This is where this is me sharing the thing that I have been terrified to share. What psychic ability was amplified? So going back to my point with that is that we all have gifts, we all have genius zones, right? So with Reiki and with my analyzing, of the years from one person to the next, when you get your attunements, your gifts, your genius zones are amplified in a lot of different ways. Some people are like super duper 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 psychic and spiritual. Some is just like they gain major clarity around what their gifts are, and they excel in their careers, and like, say for instance, you are an artist, like a painter. Instead of it being necessarily like a, psychic ability that gets way, the door just gets opened wide open. Maybe for that particular person, when they get an attunement, they just have like major clarity around what they want to paint, how they can negotiate. They gain that confidence behind getting an art broker or whatever. So that's what I have experienced or like analyzed from one person to the next, that we have all like had our very special experiences during, like, once we get attuned, and it's a big shift. It's a big shift. So for me specifically, mine has been extremely psychic. And for me specifically, it's clairaudience. So for those of you that might be new to the psychic world, there's different clairs. They call them clair. Like, so most people know the main one, which is clairvoyance. There's clairaudient. There's clairsentient. Yeah, and I know there's another one, but I'm forgetting what it is. Mine was clairaudient. And so what ended up happening was I got attuned, and I started to, like, during meditations and stuff like that, kind of get very clear messages. And the best way to describe it is like when you see, yoga instructors or meditation facilitators where they talk about a download. You got a download, like, you meditate and you get a like a spiritual download or a message from the universe. It's kind of like that, but it sounds like I can actually hear it. And the reason why I've been so hesitant to share this is because the last thing I want is somebody being like, you're schizophrenic. Because it's in very, very specific scenarios that it happens. It's not all the time. It's not when I'm so anyway. When I started to practice Reiki sessions on family members and friends after being attuned to Reiki 1, I started that really developed. And so when I would do the different sessions, I would get messages about what was going on in their body. So when you get a Reiki session, everybody does it different, just to like make that clear. Everybody does it different, and everyone experiences it different. Everyone experiences it differently. So for me specifically, when I do my Reiki sessions, I work with the chakra system. So I go down each chakra point. I don't go by body area. So like some Reiki practitioners do like hands over the top of your head, and then they go down to your eyes, and then they go to your ears, and then your neck, and then your shoulders, and it's more like you're doing more so like body. You're going towards like body points, where for me specifically, what kind of just happened naturally was I tune in specifically to the 7 chakras. It's a lot to explain, so I won't go in detail about that. So when I would go into these different chakra points, I would get messages audibly about different things. And sometimes it was, somebody that had passed over that's specific to that person. There was this one woman that I was doing a session on, and she basically, when I got to her throat chakra, I there was like an immense amount of sadness, and I kept seeing water. And then when I got to her heart was like completely broken, and I kept hearing like a message of like, mommy, I'm okay. And it was like very specific. So when I told her about this after her session, she ended up telling me that her daughter passed away because she drowned. And so sometimes what can happen with my experiences, and please understand, this is only like, I can only speak from my experiences. Every Reiki practitioner approaches things differently, and every practitioner has different experiences, just as the client has experiences that are different from even one session to the next, but especially one person to the next, like one Reiki practitioner to the next. And so hearing something like that, where technically speaking, like there are psychic mediums that, like, say for instance, would see the girl, and that, they like speak with the people who have passed over, where it's more so for me, it's like I just hear something and I don't know what it means, but when I share it with that person I'm working on, it means the world to them. And the interesting thing that for me has been so hard to talk about is some people would probably try to debunk that and make me look crazy, right? That's always been a fear of mine, when in reality, on my end, I have had so many of those experiences that I could literally call up these people right here, right now, put them on speakerphone, and every single one of them would be like, yeah, no, that happened. And when I've had those experiences, it's really scary. Like, how would I have known that because this person that I work with, she's actually one of my like most consistent clients now, for Reiki. And it's distant too, and I don't want to get into that, but it's a distant Reiki session that I do with her every time. I never met her before the first session that specifically happened with. So I did not know that about her having a child that passed away from drowning. And there's so many other stories that I plan to share, because I'm no longer holding that side of me back. It's something that my inner circle of friends and family, when I tell you, they have been telling me for years, Amber, you need to do something with this. This is something you are really gifted with. You need to promote this more. You need to like do Reiki more. It's a gift. And I was always too scared. So anyway, going back to the audible, like the clairaudience, that was for me what was, I guess, amplified in my psychic toolbox, so to speak. I humbly believe we all have the ability to tune into psychic abilities, but I do think that just as unique as I am to you, to the other person, whatever, like we all have different fingerprints, right? None of us will ever be able to be like, oh, you know what? Let me just get that for you. I'll put my thumbprint on it. You know what I'm saying? Um, you also have the same uniqueness of your gifts. So, like I said, for me, it was clairaudience. So I hear things and their messages, and it's always like just different voices. So, like I said, with the girl, it was a younger voice. Like I definitely knew it was a young girl. I had no idea what the relation was, right? But I knew that there was a young girl that was saying, you know, it's okay, mommy, or whatever. And it's it is kind of scary. It's a scary thing to go through to um, start a embark on a spiritual journey where something like getting attuned to Reiki opens you up, right, to that world. You just are like, am I fucking crazy? It's scary. It's scary, and it's hard to it's hard to share with people because it's bonkers for people that have no idea who I am or have never experienced a Reiki session with me. It might be skeptical or something like that. It's a wild thing, and it's inexplainable, and that's why I've been so scared to share my story, to share what it is I've been wanting to share with the world for so long. And you know, like I said, for those of you that have been following me for a really long time, the reason why I have literally been showing up and then I disappear for months, and then I show up and then I disappear for months, because it has been my brain has been beating myself up because I know I need to show up. I know that I need to share these things because there's other people that are going through these things. There's also other people that are, there's plenty of people that are like super open to this stuff and need this work, or they need to get into this work and they need to hear from someone like myself. So I mean, I am nervous. I am nervous to share certain aspects of it, but I am no longer holding back. And it's going to be an interesting journey, but I feel very, very good about it. For those of you that might be wondering, like, okay, what did she have to go through to finally gain that confidence to show up? For me, honestly, I do think that the last 3 or 4 years that have been absolutely horrendous for me, um, I think I had to go through that. And there was a lot of self isolation that I had. Um, I mean, nights crying myself to sleep. I have had panic attacks where my entire body is vibrating and I feel like I am going to die. Um, really crazy arguments that are like where did this come from? You know, crazy mood swings. Um, complete disassociation with the world, ignoring all of my, you know, things that we do just to kind of be a human. You know, there'd be days where I just didn't want to even brush my teeth, let alone take a shower. And I think me doing that was what I needed to go through to experience that, and then be able to be where I am right now to reflect back on that and understand the the bridge that, you know, that like essentially there's two gaps and I built that bridge. So now I can reflect in a 2020 vision, if that makes sense. And I feel like so many of us have gone through that. And for me, ironically enough, where it really started to shift was I started really getting into reading fiction novels. So that kind of started it for me. I was in this place of kind of a dark depression, and just constantly, I mean, I was in Denver at the time, and so weed is legal there, and I would just smoke so much weed that it almost like numbed me out. And I started kind of realizing that I was doing that and acknowledging it and being like, yo, I probably should do something about this. So then I started really deep diving into the bookstagram world, and I really feel that that saved me from spiraling even further into that and having a harder time to get out of that. So reading specifically fiction novels, because the way my brain works, I'm such an entrepreneurial mind. Everything that I read, I want to make a business out of it. And it's so what that does for my like nervous system is it's constantly in this work mode. And then like always feeling like I'm reminding myself of everything else that I wanted to start, but I didn't, or that I did start and I didn't finish. And it's just like this hamster wheel of, I feel like an epic failure. So I started to read fiction novels, and that helped significantly. But then I started to notice that between reading books and binge watching things like Netflix was another form of disassociation. And I pretty much, once I really saw that for what it was and how destructive it was to myself, I realized like I needed to do something. And when I kind of contemplated or journaled about that, it was a location issue. My boyfriend and I, we moved from LA to Denver. Now, mind you, long story with him, but Tony and I went to high school together. We're not high school sweethearts though. So we're both from Indiana. And so I moved to California, and we didn't even like, we kind of kept in contact, but it was from like, a distance of like social media. And he and I started dating in 2019. So he didn't even go to California until 2019. And then all of a sudden 2020 hits, and he just, bad timing for him. But I was in LA for 9 years total. He spent like, I think a year total. But anyway, we decided to move to Denver because, long story short with that, I just had this inkling that it was going to start going downhill as far as it being hard to get work, which the writer strike basically kind of proved that intuition. So moved to Denver, but we did not have any family or friends there. And making friends in your 30s is exceptionally hard. So that was something that just killed me because I am a very social person. Um, but like I said earlier, the self isolation, I believe, and I really do believe this. It forced me to go into self isolation, which is what I needed. It's just what I needed. So anyway, it's not that I'm like dwelling on this and I wish that we would have done something different, because that's not the case at all. But being in Denver caused me to like it was just a whole fiasco. So what I realized while journaling and kind of contemplating on like, this is where I'm at right now and I don't want to be here. It was, we need to move. We need to get the heck out of here. We need to move to a place where we have a community of people, because at this time in my life, meaning like in the past, I'm saying this to myself in the past, at this time in my life, what matters more to me, because career has always been number one for me, but at that time it was shifting. My priorities were shifting, and I was like, family and friends is so much more important to me than my career. So I told Tony, hey, we need to move. And I'm telling you the two places that I'm willing to move, and you can choose which place. So we decided to move to Minnesota. So lo and behold, we are here in Minnesota. And that was what changed everything. I swear to you guys, when I tell you, I felt like for the last 4 years, of my life, I have not actually been myself. I feel like I have not been in my body, like I've been a different person. And then when we moved here, I it was like I'm back. I'm finally back. We have a friend group here in Minnesota of roughly like basically like 30. There's like 30 friends that we have here that are just friends that I did not like, the type of friends I did not know existed. And when I say that, I don't mean any disrespect to any of my friends that might be listening, but friends that like they're like true ride or dies. And it's not just a couple of them. It's like the entire 30 of us are like ride or dies. Like cookouts always happen. There's like a consistency of like we all hang out with each other. And, like the fact that this past month there's a friend of ours who lives really close. It's like walking, he's like walking distance, has helped me with multiple things. And I'm just like, yo, dude, can I come by? Like, do you have this? Because I think I need this for my car. Yeah, Amber, like, come on by. The fact that I have that now, like, I can't even tell you how much that has changed my life for the better. And then, of course, the other aspect of like my social, like I love socializing. I'm a very extroverted person. So being with friends, and they're really awesome friends, um, that has really sparked back my passion for socializing. So all of that is what caused me to get back into my body and back into myself and feel like I can finally show up again. And also get back into my yoga and my meditation practice, because during those 3 years, it's ironic to think about, because sometimes I'm a little hard on myself, where I've seen the power of Reiki, um, when I'm working on my own clients, and how just unbelievably powerful it is. And I'll talk about that in another episode. But um, you would think, knowing that, I should be able to do Reiki on myself and heal those like things. But I will say, and those of you that are energy healers yourself, whether you do Reiki or you do any other modality of helping people, um, we always forget that we can help ourselves, and we can do Reiki on ourselves, or we can do, um, you know, meditations ourselves. It's just, I think that that's how human brain works. Humans brains works. Did I say that right? Humans brains work. Anyway, and so sometimes I've like looked back on all of this and like, why the heck didn't I think to like do this meditation or do this yoga practice? Like, I what I experienced though is how devastating depression can really be. You don't think about those things at all. Like, you feel helpless and you feel hopeless, so you don't even think like about those things. Anyway, so we moved, and I've gotten back into my meditation practice. I've gotten back into doing Kundalini yoga, which is my favorite form of yoga. That and restorative are my two favorites. And then also just being outside. You would think, being in Denver or Colorado, of all places, there's so much to do outside. I never did. I never went outside. I was like paralyzed by my anxiety and my depression. So that also caused the reasons for me to just be absolutely terrified to do anything with my online business. And I was just like, you know what, maybe this is the time for me to just like throw the towel in, and just focus on something else. Maybe I'm, meant to do something else. I did human design for a while, and that was really fulfilling, but like, I don't even know how to show up with that. And it was just the whole just spiral of self-doubt and being too scared to show up with the things that I really do enjoy. Um, so anyway, that is where I'm at now. And I feel so much better. I feel like myself again. I have been meditating on this for several weeks, and I am more than ready to get back into the space that I have always loved to be in, but now I actually have the clarity behind it. And I hate feeling like this whole episode is just me talking about me, 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 me. But I know that the things that I'm sharing will resonate with people, and it'll resonate with the right people. And you're supposed to hear all of the things that I've gone through, because either you're going through it yourself, you've gone through it, or maybe you know somebody that does, and it can help other people, one, understand that they're not alone, but two, understand that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So that's all I wanted to share. Um, Feel free. Something that I will be doing is I'm going to start doing, like I said, I think I mentioned this earlier, recording meditations. That's actually, it was so funny. My friend Neil, shout out to Neil if you're listening. I sent him this guided meditation that's specific for uh, manifesting abundance, like money and prosperity. And I had him listen to it. It's like a 10 or 11-minute meditation track. And first of all, great news. He actually had some really great success with it. His first experience listening, he listened to the 10 minutes or the 11 minutes, and he immediately got a really like big sale, because he has like a online crystal shop. And the second time that he listened to it, he got like a huge sale. And I don't want to, I'm totally forgetting the exact numbers, but it was like, this is just as an example. Like the first one was like $300, and then the second one was like 2,500 or something like that. I forget the exact numbers, but that was like the difference of, like, they were big amounts of money. Anyway, so I send it to him, and he messages me back, and he tells me that, those success stories, but he also was like, Amber, like, your voice is amazing. Like, you need to do more of these. So I will be doing more of the meditations. Some will be free, some of them won't be free. I'm going to be offering openly and publicly. As I say this, I get nervous. I'm probably like turning red and blushing right now, but we'll be offering my Reiki services and my human design reading services, because those are things I'm very passionate about. And just sharing just mental health support tips and hacks and things like that. So I said all of that because I wanted to also mention that I will be, like, to access all of this type of, content, you can either access it on my YouTube channel or on like the website. So the website is honest-amber.com, and that will kind of lead you to all of the content that's going to entail all of that or include all of that. So feel free, after listening, you can hop on over there to see what that's all about. And I hope that for those that are still listening to this point, thank you for bearing with me and listening to my story and listening to me just share and essentially vent about this whole experience. I'll also, in future episodes, I will be sharing some of these crazy experiences. When I say that one experience with the gal who had the daughter that drowned and I picked up, that is one of hundreds, okay? Hundreds. So I'm excited to share all of those and finally actually feel, solid about doing that. So anyway, thank you for spending your time with me. I know time is precious, and I'm eternally grateful that you are listening to what I have to say. So feel free. It would mean the world to me if you did enjoy this. Feel free to share this with somebody that you feel would benefit from hearing, and we can spread the knowledge and spread the love of normalizing going through kind of tumultuous times, mental breakdowns, nervous breakdowns, and showing up even though you're scared, and going through the process of getting there. And sometimes it can be scary, sometimes it can feel dark, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So I would love, love, love for you to share this. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, I guess I'll talk to you later. Bye.